Hello and welcome back to the Truth About Weight Loss video series with Angela B. and friends. Diet is an evergreen topic, and despite of all the thousands of diets and programs and the $8 billion spent every year, overweight and obesity are still rising. Laura Fenamore is going to talk about one simple aspect of a healthy diet. Another topic she's covering in this video is self-talks women often have. In my almost 40 years of being a weight transformation coach, I have heard many sad names women call themselves regarding their body and weight. Women can be very harsh to themselves, and this has to stop.
Weight loss diet? Any more thoughts about that?
About weight loss diets? Well,
Yes.
I think that there's a very small percentage of people that can actually, you hear about people every once in a while, somebody will say, oh yeah, I know this guy that lost, 100 pounds and he's kept it off. But the statistics are pretty much in the favor of 50% of the people that lose weight gain it back within 5 years, and most people go on a diet and stay off a diet. And as far as having a sustainable long-term diet, I do believe that whole foods is the answer. And, I come from the school of Ayurvedic, so I used to be a raw foodie. The way that I eat has changed through the years, dramatically actually. I was a raw foodie vegan for like 4 years, and I'm not a proselytizer about any one way. What I do in my course is I suggest and show people that there are different ways for different bodies, and I interview different nutritionists who have different paths. But there are many paths of whole food eating, whereas you eat as little processed food as possible, less from boxes and cans and more from the garden to your belly, because that's got more energy in it, more life force.
Yeah, exactly. You mentioned the more we love ourselves, the more it's natural that we take care of what we put into our mouth and what we eat and what we do to our body. This is, for many of our guests, this is probably a far-reaching goal because many are not there yet, and they are far from being there yet. And I heard you once saying that you called yourself a big, fat, ugly drunk. And many overweight women have that kind of negative self-talk as well. I had them, and during the last 28 years, I have heard so much negative self-talk from women who are struggling with their weight. This is certainly not helpful building a good relationship with our bodies or promoting last weight loss. How did you overcome beating yourself up and negative self-talk before you were able to love yourself so much that this wasn't an issue anymore?
Well, the first thing that I had to do was really wake up to what I was doing, because so many people are on autopilot, Angela, that they're not even aware of their negative self-talk. They're just aware that they can't stop eating, or they obsess about food, and maybe they feel defective, like there's something wrong with me. But oftentimes people don't walk around saying, oh, I call myself an ugly person every day. They just do it. But what happens is when they get somebody like you comes in their life and you're here to help people see another way, they all of a sudden start to notice, oh my goodness, maybe I'm not talking to myself so nicely. Wow. And they start to notice, and from the place of noticing, then they can make a shift. I mean, it is the first step. The first step is to really notice what's happening. And, when I notice that, oh my goodness, how I've talked to myself is just, it's abhorrent, it's horrible. And people say this all the time. I wouldn't talk to a stranger or a dog the way that I talk to myself. I'm really, really mean to myself. And that is not going to change until we become conscious of it. And then once we become conscious of it, it's a process, the same way that all of the work that I'm sure you do and I do is. It's a process, not a pill. We want instant gratification, but instant gratification doesn't come. It's really a process to undo those thoughts and feelings and behaviors that we've been living with. It just takes one little step at a time to undo that negative self-talk and to begin to start talking to ourselves with kindness and compassion and love. You know, if we find that we're hanging out with people that are just really talking nasty to us, or they're being just as abusive, then a lot of things may need to shift in order for you to move forward. And I know that's not easy for everybody to hear, but I'm saying it, that I've had people, walk away from jobs and marriages and all kinds of situations where they really were not there for the right reasons, because they were there because they felt like they had to be there, not because they wanted to be there. And it was actually holding them back from their truth and what they wanted and valued. And of course it led them, as long as they stayed in those situations, they stayed in this food fixation.
And when they are treated so badly from other people, it's much easier to think negatively about yourself and
Absolutely.
vice versa, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And
one
like
thing feeds into the other.
Yes. And like you said, this is, and I would like to repeat that again because it's so important. Most of the time it's on autopilot, this negative self-talk, and we are not even aware of. And very often we don't even say it anymore, we just think it. And we don't realize that we think it. And that makes it so tricky. It's quite difficult to deal with, but we have to deal with. It's very important.
As Laura said, the first step is to notice your negative self-talk and then to stop it. You have to stop it because it makes matters worse and it keeps you in that negative loop you can't escape. The only way to escape that loop is to stop the negative self-talk, and it begins with awareness. Just keep in mind that as long as you are talking badly about yourself, others will not and cannot treat you nicely and gently. It's the law of attraction in action. And if you feel that others are treating you badly, then it's time to start shifting your self-image. To keep this interesting to you, I have decided to mix the topics and interviews. So in my next video we are going to talk about an entirely different topic, weight and aging, with Dr. Susan Smith-Jones. And yet, even in that context, Dr. Susan also has to talk about self-esteem. Self-esteem is really a big issue for many overweight women. I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now.